Hello, hello.
Hello.
How is
Hi.
everyone this evening or this afternoon? Is it evening, afternoon, whatever it is?
It's the time of the day.
It is something. It's a perspective thing, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a few minutes. There were a lot of people signed up, and we know that, well, realtors operate on realtor time, so we might give everybody a couple minutes before they jump in. Somebody have something good to share this afternoon? I still don't know what time of the day it is. Anybody had something exciting happen today? No excitement?
I already have dinner ready for tonight.
See, this is why I think it's already evening, because I knew that you're cooking dinner. What are we having?
I call it hobo stew. It's kind of like beef vegetable soup, but I didn't have any like a roast, so I just used hamburger.
Oh, yes.
So,
My mom used to make Campbell's ABC soup, and then she would make hamburger and put in it. And I thought that was the best. When growing up, I thought that was the best soup ever.
I know my kids like this and they're very picky. So, and with that wind today is cold. So I just wanted a warm soup.
It is soup weather. Have you guys seen the temperature, what it looks like it's going to be Monday and Tuesday? I think we're going to have a little bit of a surprise.
Oh.
All right, we got people coming in. All right, so you guys are all here to talk about the database today, right? It's my favorite topic. Let's see. Let me see if I can get the slideshow started. And you guys were on time. We've given everybody a couple of minutes, and then we're going to jump in, and they can catch up with us as we go along. So let's see. If I share my screen, can somebody tell me, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. We are making improvements. Now, I have taught this class 3 times in person. And when I wrote this class, I wrote it for in person, and then we've added this online virtual version at the end here for all of you that couldn't attend. So Keen, I'm going to turn this over to you to let people in from the waiting room for me, if you would do that. So what we're going to be talking about is database. First of all, in case you guys don't know me, I am Carla Higgins, and I am the productivity coach at Indy Metro Southwest, Northeast, and also work with the Louisville East office as well. And I wrote this class because, well, I'll be honest with you, I originally wrote this class because I was taking a class myself. I was taking a class called Train the Presenter or Train the Trainer. And this was the class that I chose, and I wrote it, and then I expanded on it and brought it back to the market centers. So what we've been hearing from Gary Keller and all of the folks at the top of at Keller Williams International is that we need to get back to the basics. And one of the basics for our business is all about our database. So, and we can take our database and we can turn it into a data bank, and that's really exciting to me. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I know a lot of you guys, it's afternoon, and it's really helpful if you turn your cameras on. If you guys have ever taught a class to black boxes with words in it, it's a little hard. If you can't turn your camera on, I absolutely understand. There are at the bottom of your screen, you're going to find some reaction buttons. And you can use those to raise your hand or make comments. I am not going to be able to watch the chat. So if you have a question or you want to participate, if you just speak up, do not be afraid to interrupt me. Just jump in and talk. But if you type in the chat, it's really hard for me to run the PowerPoint and teach the class and then also watch the chat as well. So if you guys could do that for me as a favor, I would really appreciate it. Also, I do have this set to record. The reason why we're recording is there's some people that really wanted to attend today, and this wasn't a good time for them. So we've got it recording. Okay, so we're going to be talking about turn your database into a data bank, and this is what this is going to look like. We got 2 hours today, And first of all, either raise your hands if you're on the little box in the screen, or use your reaction button. How many of you guys currently have a database? Okay, a few of you. Did everybody find the reaction button down under by where the chat is down at the bottom? You see that? Okay, I've got a thumbs up from Becky. She found it. All right, so a database. How many of you guys have a cell phone? Is your cell phone potentially a database? It's an interesting question. We can think about that today. So what we're going to be talking about is, what is your database? We're going to talk about building your database. We're going to talk about feeding your database. We're going to talk about communicating with your database. We are going to talk about servicing your database, and then we're going to wrap it all up at the end. Those are the 4 laws of the database right there: build, feed, communicate, and service. And if we do all 4 of those things, and we do it at a high level, we will turn our database into a data bank that we can withdraw expected amounts of business out of. Anybody here, would you like to just know exactly how much business that you're going to get at any given time? Be able to control the flow of it, how it's coming into you. That's what we have with our database. That's the magic of the database. So your database is your business. And this comes from Gary Keller and the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Has everybody seen this book? Have a copy of it? Read it maybe? You know what we're talking about here. And I'm going to make reference to this today. Sometimes I call it the red book because it's red. And sometimes I call it MREA, which is just the initials of it. But I want to make sure you know what this is. It doesn't matter. This is the Bible for real estate, no matter what brokerage we're with. It's the systems and models that are going to make it successful. Who wants to read this for me? Will somebody read for me what Gary says about your database and the Millionaire Real Estate Agent?
Sure. Your database is your business. Let me move my thing here. Building up the number of names in it and a relationship with those names is really at the very core of what building a real estate business is all about.
Awesome. So tell me, what jumps out at you? What word jumps out at you in that paragraph? Or word?
Relationship.
Relationship, exactly. So our database ends up becoming where our relationship is stored, where the information from our relationship is. So the number of names in it and the relationship with those names. It doesn't matter how many we have if we don't have to have, we have to have the relationship. That's going to be a fundamental part of it. So your database is basically just the repository, right? It is just the container in which you keep contact information, all the contact information for your friends, your family, your past clients, all of those things. That's where we keep that, right? We keep that in there. So just the container. That's why I said your phone could be a database, right? Because it has an ability to keep information in there. So what are we putting, who are we putting in our database? When we talk about putting people in our database, what kind of people are we putting in there?
Friends, family, coworkers, people you work out with at the gym.
Awesome. Yeah, lots of different people. They're going to come in 2 different categories. They're going to either be leads or contacts. Does everybody know the difference between a lead and a contact? Somebody tell me, what's the distinction between the 2?
A lead would be probably someone you have that is interested in purchasing, selling, investing, and a contact would be maybe someone you've done business before with, and
Okay.
it's just in there.
Yeah. So a contact is somebody that we have a relationship with. We are already in relationship with them. It could be a past client, it could be friends, family, but we are already in relationship. And a lead is somebody that we're looking to get into relationship with them. Okay, so think about that. We're looking for a way to get into relationship with them. It may be that we've had a conversation, but we're not really solidified in a relationship with them yet. We don't know what their needs, wants are. We don't have their information, but we're just not in relationship. So we go back and think about what Gary said on the screen we just read before, that it's all about the relationship that we're focusing on. do you think that we would talk differently to people that we had a relationship with versus people we're trying to get into relationship with? You have different conversations, different, even different cadence or different systems around getting in contact with those people is going to be a little bit different. So leads are people who have expressed an interest in service or offering of yours from social media or other marketing platforms, your website or word of mouth. You haven't yet established a relationship, and yet you have the right to have a one-way conversation with them. So you're beginning to build a relationship. Contacts are people you have a relationship with. They know you and you know them, and you have permission to engage in communication with them. This is your sphere of influence. Has everybody ever heard that phrase before? Sphere of influence, right? And the beautiful thing about sphere of influence is that influence is transferable too. And we're going to talk about that today as well. These people are golden. Think about this. They already know you, like you, trust you. And what does somebody have to do before they'll do business with you?
Know you, like you, trust you.
They have to know you, like you, trust you. So you are there. You are a good with gold with there. So for those of you that are at Keller Williams and are in command, you know that we have the ability to separate our contacts between our contacts into leads, mark them as leads. If they're marked as leads, we know we're working to get in a relationship with them. Once we've gotten into a relationship with them, we can uncheck the box. And now they're not in that lead pool anymore. They are actually our sphere of influence. There's somebody that we have a relationship with. All right, so the 4 laws of the database. These are the things that we must do with our database in order to have it be the business that we want to have. If you go back to that slide before where we heard from Gary, it said your database is your business. How many of you guys think of your database as your business? What happens when you retire? What will you have to sell?
Database.
Your database, right? Gary tells a story in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent about going to an allergy doctor. And he gets to his allergy doctor and he realizes he has a completely different doctor than he had the last time he went there. How did he become a patient of the new allergy doctor?
Referral.
Well, actually, the doctor sold his book of business, right? The first doctor sold his database that contained Gary in it. When Gary showed up, he'd been sold, right? His contact information, his patient file had been sold. It's the same thing, right? So you're going to build a database. And if you'd like to retire someday, does anybody here want to retire someday? Would it be nice when you retire, somebody wrote you a nice check or you had a residual income coming in after you retired? Would that be a nice thing to have? So all the work that we put in to build our database is going to help us with our business today, but it's also going to help us in the future. It is our business. It's the business that we get to sell. It's our business asset. Now, in order to make that valuable, we have to follow these 4 laws of the database. So we're going to build it, feed it, communicate with it in a systematic way, and we're going to service all the leads that come from that. And that's what we're going to be covering today. All right, so we're going to start with building. Law number 1, we're going to start with building your database. And did you guys all get the participant? I sent you an email that had a little participant guide in it. Did you guys all get that email? Some of this you may want to follow along. You may want to use part of it as kind of a workshop as we go along. And we are going to be on page 5 is where we're going to be as we start on the laws, 4 laws. Does anybody not have that? Does anybody need the link to download it? All right, everybody's good. Everybody must have it. All right. So when we build a database, what information do we need in our database?
Name, phone number, email, addresses, how they're related.
I love that. So name and their contact information, their email, their phone number, their mailing address, how we know them. That's a good thing to know, how we know them. What else might we want to have in there?
Birthday.
Birthday. That would be a great one. Why would we want to have birthday in there?
So we could send them a card.
Yeah, we can send them a card on their birthday, handwritten notes, make them feel good. What else might we want to have in there?
Any information you have on them. If they have a pet, know the pet's name. If they
Oh, I
have
love that.
children, know the children's name.
Their pet might be more important than the children, huh?
Sometimes.
I love that. Yeah. How about whether they currently rent or own? Would that be good information to have in your database?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. And then maybe other family members, how they're connected to other people in your database. Would that be helpful? When I first started building my database in Command, it caused me some distress at first that I had to put the husbands and wives in there separately. Why would we want to put our husbands and wives in our database as two different entities or two different entries instead of one?
They might have different opinions on where they're heading with
Yeah.
real
Has
estate.
anybody ever had that? Wife wants to move, husband wants to stay put. Has anybody ever encountered that, right? Where they may not be on the same page. If you're communicating with the wrong person, that may not work out. Yeah. Another reason was something I turned this into is I keep track of their wedding anniversary, and I have it set up that the day before their wedding anniversary, I'll call the husband and I wish him a happy anniversary tomorrow. And then on the next day, I call the wife and I wish her a happy anniversary. And she's always super happy and excited because her husband remembered their anniversary. That's a
I
one
love
reason.
that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What a good trick.
Pardon?
What a good trick.
Yeah, a little trick. Yes, that adds value, adding a little value, right? Also, unfortunately, sometimes they don't stay married. Not because I didn't try to keep them with their anniversary date in mind, but sometimes they might end up doing separate things. Or do you think it's possible that husbands and wives know different people? So if you're always talking to the wife and you're asking, do you know anyone else who might need my help? And she says, no, I don't know anyone. And you're not talking to the husband. Is it possible that he knows people that she doesn't know? That he might think of people, they may both know people, but he might know that they're looking and she doesn't know. Right. So it's important to have those in there separately. All right. So we're going to start off, we're going to build our database. And somebody mentioned earlier, some of the kinds of people that we want to put in there. Family and friends, I heard that. How about neighbors? You want to have your neighbors in there? Is anybody like pulling into your neighborhood and seeing another realtor sign in the neighbor's yard? That's not fun. No fun, right? So we probably want to have our neighbors in there. Who else might we get? Who else might we put in our database?
Teachers, of your kids, sports coaches, just
Yeah.
about anybody, the people at the dentist office,
I
doctor's
love
office.
that. How many of you guys have your dentist and your doctor in your database? Michelle
Working on
does,
it.
love
I've
it. Andy
got-
does. If
I've
you're
got
doing
some.
business with someone else, should they be, anybody you're doing business with, should they be in your database? If you're doing business with them, they should do business with you too, shouldn't they?
Car people.
Yeah. And ladies, anybody, a hairdresser, do you think the hairdresser comes into contact and has conversations with people and might hear that they want to move? That's a really good one, right? All right. How about high school? Any of you guys go to high school with other people? Do you have all the people you went to high school with in your database? When I say to do that, somebody's got a limiting belief right now about that. What are you thinking? No limiting beliefs about all the people you went to high school with. All right, we're good. All right. Anybody ever have a job before? Or all the people that you worked with at your prior job, are they in your database? And also like churches and any of the organizations you're in. So sources for building your database. We have, I sent this, I'm gonna put this in the chat. But I sent this out. I think I can get to the chat. I have this opened up so I can see all those thing, and then I gotta find the chat. There we go. So this is a memory jogger. This is a document. I put it in your email too, so you have that as well. But this is a memory jogger, and those of you that are getting ready to do bold, if you've already done the first step to bold and you're going to be in bold with us, you're probably getting a sneak peek because I took this from a prior bold that I was in. But it's a really great way for you to go back and look and see if there's anybody you've forgotten. I'm going to tell you guys a story real quick because it's it almost went bad for me, but it worked out okay. I got a call one day from a lady and she says, "Hi, this is Christy. Do you remember me?" And I said, "Oh my goodness, I know lots of Christys. Help me out a little bit," because I didn't have a clue. Didn't recognize the phone number. It came up as a number in my phone without a name. And she said, "Well," she said, "I took both of your children's senior pictures." And it's starting to ring a bell. I'm getting it. "Oh yeah, absolutely. It's nice to how you've been doing." She said, "I'm great." She said, I just wanted to ask you a question. I've been seeing you've been doing these videos out on Facebook a lot, and I see that you're in real estate." She said, "My husband and I have 11 investment properties we would like to sell. Would you be interested in helping us?" And the reason why I tell you this story is because she was not in my database. And I got lucky. Right? Does anybody here want your business to be purely by luck or accident? Because I got lucky on this one. She had not been in my database. And from that moment on, I thought I just need to go back and think of everyone because I almost missed that one. Fortunately, she was my friend on Facebook because, you know, when you get your kids senior pictures, they make you friend them on Facebook. So you get the sneak peek before they actually give you the pictures that you pay for. Right? So that's why I got really lucky with that. But we have to make sure we think of everyone. So that document that I just put in the chat, that memory jogger, I recommend that you print that out and maybe once a week you go through that and see, is there anybody you've forgotten? Is there anybody else you need to have in your database? All right, so we're going to build our database. Here's some other sources that I thought of. We've got your phone. So everybody do this. Is your phone handy? You got your phone nearby? I know most people don't let you get on your phone in class, but get on your phone and go in your contacts. And if you're on an iPhone, I know you scroll all the way to the bottom and it'll tell you how many contacts are in your phone. If you're on an Android, I think it shows at the top. Somebody tell me, how many contacts do you have in your phone? More than you thought?
I have 86.
86. Okay. Michelle, are all 86 of those people in your database?
No.
Okay. No.
No, they need to be, obviously, yeah.
They need to be. Yeah.
I have
Anybody else? How
I
many
have
people got your phone?
2,320.
2,320. Are they all in your database, Becky?
No, some of them are real estate agents.
Some of them are real estate agents. Well, let me ask you a question, Becky. Would it be good to have real estate agents in your database?
It could be an advantage if they're not with KW to give an opportunity to find out more about KW.
Yeah.
And I do have a campaign smart plan on that. So yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, and even if they're co-op agents, agents that we work with on a regular basis or that we've worked with in the past, I mean, we could still tag them that they are a local agent and we could wish them happy holidays, right? It's going to help the next time we have a transaction, going to be in good news. So it wouldn't hurt to have those people in our database as well. All right, how about Facebook? You can do the same thing while you're on your phone. You can go to Facebook, and when you go to Facebook on your phone, you're going to go to your home screen, I think. You're going to go to the right where it says more, and you're going to click on friends, and it's going to tell you how many friends you have. Anybody know how many friends they have on Facebook?
1,230.
Are all of those people in your database, Annie?
Most of them are.
Most of them are. I know why most of yours are. That was a trick question. How about everybody else? How many Facebook friends do you have? Do you have more Facebook friends than people who are in your database? All right. How about LinkedIn? Anybody use LinkedIn? It's another really good place to go. church directory, your kids school directory, PTA, those kind of things, your yearbook, right? That's a good place to jog your memory. How about wedding guest lists? That's a really good place. Another one that was really good for me was my mom's Christmas card list. My mom's Christmas card list was a database, just so you know. Like, it was pretty impressive, all the things that she had kept track of in there about people. So yeah, think about what you need to do to build your database. Now, you can export. I'm going to put this in the chat as well. And this is a document that you guys can grab and go through and find the ones that you want. But this is the document that I'm putting in the chat right now. And it's got lots of things on there. It's got, if you have an iPhone or an Android and you'd like to export your contacts from your iPhone and your Android so that you could then upload them into your database, whether it's Command or what other database you use. You can use that. It's also going to tell you how to get your contacts out of LinkedIn. It's also going to have, Facebook does not want you to be able to download your contacts, but there is a shortcut in that document that tells you how to get them out of Facebook, and also then how to get them out of your Google, if you have Google contacts. So all of that is in that document, and that will help you as you're building your database. So you're going to take all of your information that you have, no matter where you've got it from, and you've got to assemble it, right? And then you have to get it into your database or your CRM. Does everybody know what the letter CRM stands for? Michelle, were you telling me? You're muted.
I forgot. Once upon a time I knew, but I don't know now.
It's a customer relationship management system. Think Salesforce, right? Those of you that are in Indianapolis, we have a big old tower downtown that says Salesforce. And every time I drive by it, I think, oh, that's a CRM. I know what that is. At Keller Williams, most of us use Command, but there are lots of other ones. If you're on a team or you're at another brokerage, you may be using Boomtown or Sierra, or there's just all different kinds that you could be using. And it doesn't matter. What's the best database to use? What's the best CRM to use?
The one you will use.
The one you will use, exactly. It doesn't matter what it is. Could an Excel spreadsheet be a database? It could,
Yeah.
right? It could. Has anybody here ever seen the video? It's out on YouTube and it's so good. It's like from the early 80s and it's called Gary in the Box. Gary Keller, his original database was basically a shoebox with index cards in it. And that was his database. I'll send you guys all the link for that. I don't have it with downloaded right now, but I'll send you guys the link for it if you haven't seen it, because it's so cool, because it makes you think about how simple it really is. This concept of a database, it's simple. And you know, the other thing, the first time I taught this class in person, there was a lender in that class at the West office. And he made a comment to me that made me think about the fact that every business has to do this. Right? Every business has to have a database. How many databases do you think that you are in? A few? Do you get any emails from anybody trying to sell you something? Yeah.
Plenty of databases.
Yeah, you're in all kinds of databases, right? So that's the connection. Now, let me ask you another question. Do you think your friends and family and other people you know might also be in other realtors' databases? Think that's possible? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, could be. All right, so let's talk about how much a contact is worth. Because I think this is a really interesting thing. So if you look, this is on page 7 in your participant guide. Now I have worked it out for you here using an average per transaction gross commission income. So if your gross commission income number is different than this, then you just need to do a little bit different math so that you can figure out how much your contact is worth. And these numbers, they're going to differ a little bit from what you're used to seeing in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, because Gary Keller and Jay Papazan have been working on the Millionaire Real Estate, this book, an update to it, since this one was written a while ago. And they learned that there was a little bit different numbers that are the conversion, mostly probably because of the internet, and all of the technology that we have has changed things a little bit. So I've used 100 just to start with. So if you had a database of 100, that's going to help us figure out how much each contact is worth. So if we have 100 contacts in our database, we can expect, this is where that Databank thing comes in, we can expect that 10% of the people in our database are going to need our help next year. Okay. You know, people, how often do people move on average? Does anybody remember that?
It used to be
8 to
7 and it's moved to 10.
Yeah, somewhere between 7 and 10. And I wonder after the last couple of years where people were buying houses that they really didn't love, if it might not change a little bit, but 7 to 10 years, right? So if you got 100 people in your database, you don't know where they are in that cycle, right? 7 to 10. But what they found by interviewing agents and doing studies, they found that about 10% are going to need your help next year. You're going to have a closing from your contacts. If you have stayed top of mind with them, they're going to need your help. They also found that 6.4% of them are going to give you referrals. Now, what has to happen in order for you to get referrals? What's the best way not to get a referral?
Not asking for it.
Don't ask for it, right? If you don't ask for it, you probably aren't going to get it. But if you're doing all the things that you need to do and you're following the 4 laws that we're going to talk about today, then you can expect 6.4% of your database is going to send you a referral. So that's 16.4. Now we can't really do 0.4 transactions. So I rounded that down to 16 closed units with an average gross commission income of $6,000. So that is total GCI, gross commission income, of $96,000. And if I divide $96,000 by the 100 contacts, that lets me know that each contact in my database is worth $960. Now, if you have a different gross commission income, all you have to do is this math down here at the bottom. And there's a place on page 7 in your workbook that you could redo that math. But let me ask you a question. If it's worth $960 to put people in your database and communicate with them systematically and on a regular basis, is that a worthwhile exercise for us building our database?
That's
Yes.
a good age.
$960. I can just sit and do that all day long, right? That's going to be an awesome thing to do. All right. So in relationship to that, we know now if it's $900 or whatever your math works out to be per contact, it's going to be worthwhile. Now we've built one. Now we've got to feed it. Why do we need to feed it?
So your business keeps flowing in. You don't
Yeah, so
close
we
a
can
deal
grow.
and then you stop.
Yeah, we've got to grow our business. So we have to keep putting people in our database. This is a word that I was saying. We don't want to put our database on a diet. Does anybody know what the first three letters of the word diet is?
Die.
Die, right? Diet equals die. That's in my brain. We don't want to put our database on a diet because it'll die, right? That's not going to work out for us. We don't want to put it on a database. Now, where do people come from? Where do we get people that we're going to feed it with? Where does the feed comes from? What's our activity that creates the feed?
Or lead
Your
generation.
lead gens.
Yeah, lead generation. Lead generation is how we're going to feed our database. Exactly. All right. So we are not just the business of servicing clients. It's the business of finding clients to service, right? The size of your real estate business over time will be in direct proportion to the size and quality of your database, right? So size and quality. What do you think is quality? What makes a database quality?
Accurate information.
Having the information that we were talking about earlier, absolutely, right? That's absolutely it. And then also our relationships, right? The other thing that's going to make it quality is the nature of our relationships that we have with it. So this comes from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it's also on page 8 in your guide. Now we've just talked about you're going to add all the people you know, your sphere of influence, and the people that you encounter regularly, right? Do you have a mechanism for capturing people's information when they ask you in the grocery store, how's the market? Does anybody have a good system? How do you capture people's contact information when you're out in the public and you talk to them?
You can ask for the information.
You can ask for it, absolutely. What happens if we just hand out our business cards? How are we going to follow up with those people?
You hope they call you or email you. or
Hope, is
something.
hope a good plan? Does anybody want your business to be built on hope? No.
I
hope-
always,
Go,
yeah,
Annie.
I always tell them, hey, I can just text you a copy of my business card, and that way you can share it with people if you need to. Why don't you give me your number and I'll do it right then and there.
I love that. So I've been told, I don't know if that it's 100% true, but I've been told so many times, I believe that it's true, that Gary Keller does not even have business cards, right? There's no point in having business cards. For the longest time, what I had was I had blank ones in my business card case, and I would open it up and go, oh, I'm all out of cards. Here, write your contact information on here and I'll get you mine. But then now we've got these digital business cards that you can just go into your contacts in your phone and set up a contact for you, and you can share it. Or there's all kinds of services that have digital business cards. But you got to have a system for collecting people's information when you're out and about. Otherwise, you're going to be leaving your business up to chance, and you're just going to hope that they're going to remember you. And I don't think hope's not a plan. Hope is not a strategy. So be thinking about that. What is your system around capturing people's information so that you can feed your database with that information? Now, when we're lead generating, we're doing one of two things, right? We're either prospecting or marketing. Somebody, can you tell me the difference between prospecting and marketing?
Prospecting is looking for specific clients, and marketing is just getting information out there to the public.
I love it. Yes. Prospecting is one-to-one or one to a few, and marketing is one to many. So which one is usually more expensive?
Marketing.
Marketing. And examples of marketing might be billboards, right? Or if anybody's ever seen like little benches at the bus stops that have realtors' contact information on it, or other kinds of anything you're doing out to the masses, right? Not with a specific target in mind. And then prospecting, that one-on-one or one to a few, that's going to be more time involved, right? It's going to take more time. So we have to do a little bit of both. And what we know is that we need to be prospecting based and then marketing enhanced. So we need to make sure we're spending most of our time prospecting with some marketing enhancement. And then there's also this category in the middle, which I love, is kind of a little bit of both, right? Because if you're farming a neighborhood, whether that's a geographic farming a neighborhood or demographically farming a certain subset, you're going to have a group of some specific people in mind, but you may be doing it on a grander scale. So it's going to be both. Same thing with open houses, right? When you have an open house and you call the neighbors, you're putting it out, you're putting a sign out, right? The sign is marketing, calling the neighbors is prospecting. So you might have things that work together, but we have to constantly be doing this. And we all know that we need to lead generate every day. It's important to know why, right? We have to feed our database, and that's what we're doing when we're prospecting and marketing. And we're looking for people who are ready, willing, and able now, right? We want people that are ready, willing, and able right now. But we also may find people that are ready, willing, that aren't ready, but they're willing and able 6 months from now. Those are still good people to put in our database, aren't they? And even if they're not ready, willing, and able, do we still want to put them in our database and reach back out to them? And why would we want to
Yes.
keep them? Why would we want to keep them, put them in our database, even if they're not ready right now?
Make sure you're the first one they think of when they are.
Yeah, it's our job to stay top of mind. Plus, remember that 6.4% that's from referrals. Do you think they may know people who are ready, willing, and able? We have to remember, it's not about who they know. It's not about who we know. It's who they know, right? Who the people we know, who they know. So we have to look at it that way. So we always have to be asking for referrals. This is another really great way for you to feed your database is when you're talking to your database and maintaining a relationship that you're asking for referrals. Do you know anyone who might need my help? I'd love to reach out to them, right? So you always have to ask for referrals. Every time you have a conversation or send a communication, you should have a way that you ask for referrals. Do you have a conversation or a script that you normally use to ask for referrals? Does anybody have one that they always try to use? No, well, that one was mine, right? I just always say, do you happen to know anybody who needs my help? Just as simple as that. That's asking for a referral. When's the best time to ask somebody for a referral?
After you have met them a couple times without, without any business interest, just
Yeah,
kind of.
after you've met them a couple times. I personally think the best time to ask them is when they're at the closing table. That's when they're the happiest. They just bought their house or sold their house and they're happy, happy people. The day that I wouldn't is probably the day they got their inspection report, just saying. Right? No, you constantly want to be asking, and we want to ask all throughout the process when we're working with a client. My way to ask at the closing table is this. It's simply, you know what, I have enjoyed working with you so much and I'm really going to miss you. And what I know is that most people have friends that are very much like them. So is there any chance, you have any other friends or family that are going to need my help? So I won't miss you so much because I'll have them to work with, kind of that way. It's a compliment and an ask all at the same time. Oh, by the way, when somebody gives you a referral, we want to reward that, right? We want to reward that behavior. When should we reward? Easy for me to say. When should we reward that behavior, the referral?
After they give it to you.
After they give it to you, not wait till that closes, right? We want to reward the activity we want to repeat, which is giving the referral. Not every referral is going to turn into a closing, right? But we want to reward the activity of getting the referral. So then we're going to get these referrals that come in, and even if they aren't ready, willing, and able, they become somebody that goes into our database that we're going to work to build a relationship with. So they become part of the feeding of our database. So you guys have all seen the funnel. We have to keep the funnel in mind though, because your database, you can see where your database falls here is at the top, right? We have a database. This is everybody in the funnel, and they're going to come down through there. They're either going to be leads that we need to form relationships with, or they're going to be contacts. And our job is to strengthen the relationships. So our job is twofold, right? Our job is to find people to put into our database. That's lead generation. And then it's to form relationship with our leads or to strengthen relationships with our contacts. That's lead follow-up, right? So lead generation and lead follow-up, and then we're going to cultivate those contacts to eventually be there for them when they need our help. Then we're going to get them to closing, and then where do they go? After they come out of the bottom of the funnel and then we've closed them at the closing table, where do they go? Do we just delete them from our database?
No, we start all over.
No,
Yeah, they go right back up in the top of the funnel, right? We throw them right back in the top of the funnel. All right. So I think this is super fun. This is $1 million database. And when I started doing this, I thought, well, let's look at a couple of different ways. Okay. So what you're going to see here, and this is on page, let me get there. This is on page 10 in your participant workbook. But let's look at $1 million. Does anybody think $1 million database sounds fabulous? Like, do you think if you retired and you had $1 million database that you would retire well? I think so. All right. So on the left-hand side, we've got a net $1 million database. And on the right-hand side, we have gross $1 million database. Does anybody here like to make $1 million a year? Just one time. Wouldn't that be awesome? Just 1 year. I don't need to be once you did it once, you'd want to continue to do it, right? But $1 million. So that's what we got this on two different sides. So we're going to net, or we're going to gross, or we're going to net. So yeah, on the right-hand side, let's look at it gross first. Okay. So I worked this backwards. So I did the math for you based on a $6,000 nope, I use $7,000 gross commission income here. So if yours is different, you'd have to do the math a little bit different. So the numbers will work out a little bit differently. But we work at it this way. So we know if we had 800, it worked out 872 contacts in our database. We know that we're going to get 10% closings from those contacts. That's 87 closings. We're going to get 56 referrals. That's 6.4%, those referrals from what the MREA 2 tells us. So that means a total closed units of 143 at $7,000 gross commission income works out to $1 million. We know from the MREA and the MREA 2 that our expenses should be 40%. So that means that if we had 872 people in our database and we had gross commission income of $7,000 per transaction, that we should net $600,000 a year. If we follow the 4 laws of the database. On the net side, net $1 million, this is even more fun, right? If we had 1,450 contacts in our database, we know we're going to get 145 closings from the contracts, or the 10%. We're going to get 6.4% referrals. That's 93. So that's a total closed units of 238 closed units, $7,000 GCI. That's going to give us 1,666,667 in gross commission income. 40% expenses gives us a net $1 million a year. So if you'd like to earn $1 million a year, all you have to do is have 1,450 people in your database, have 1,450 people you're in relationship with, and you're in a relationship with them such that they remember that you're in real estate. Those of you that coach with me, you know that I saw once a study that says it takes 13 days for somebody to forget you. That means it takes 13 days for someone to forget that you are in real estate. So if you want to have 1,450 people in your database and get that $1 million net, you just have to make sure they don't forget you. They're going to forget you every 13 days. What does that mean you need to do?
Stay in touch. Well, not every day, but continuously.
Yes, you got to stay in front of them somehow all the time. And if you start paying attention to your email, you're going to see that that's what other people, other businesses are doing on a regular basis. I also thought this was fun on up here, the little graphic. $1 million a year works out to $83,333 a month, or $19,230 a week, or $2,739 a day. Wouldn't that be awesome just to know that you were making $2,700 a day? So fun. So it's a fun way to think. All right. So from that, you can figure out how hungry your database is. And I know that your goal probably or may not be $1 million to earn $1 million next year, but hopefully you guys have a good idea of what you would like to earn in a year from your real estate business. So you can calculate this on page 10 in your thing. And the first thing you need to know is how many people you have in your database. And if you don't know, you could just come up with a good number, or you could do this math after class, and you could go look in your database, okay? And then you also need to have your goal gross commission income. So whatever that is, whatever your goal is for your annual gross commission income, how much you would like to earn. And then you also need to know what your average gross commission income is per transaction. Does everybody know how to get that? Okay. All right. And then you're going to divide A, which was your goal GCI, by your average GCI. And that is going to tell you how many closed units you need to have in order to make the money that you would like to earn. And then if you divide that by 16.4%, which is that 10% plus the 6.4% for referrals, if you divide that by 16.4%, that's going to tell you how many contacts you need in your database. And the difference between the number of people you have and the number of people you need is your gap. That's how hungry your database is. That's how much it needs. Here, I've done a little example for you here so you can see what this looks like. So if your goal, for instance, was $100,000, you wanted to earn $100,000, and your average gross commission income per transaction is $7,000, that would mean that you would need to close 15 transactions, which is just 1,000 divided by 7,000. 15 transactions. And then you take that 15 transactions and you divide that by 16.4%, and you would know that you would need 92 contacts in your database. And so if, for instance, I had 50 people in my database and I needed 92, then I have a gap of 42. So I would know that my first job is going to be to find 42 people to get into a relationship with and get them into my database. Does that make sense? Does anybody know what your gap is? Do you want to share? Does anybody not have a gap? Is anybody got exactly the number of people or more people in your database than you need? Annie?
I have people in my database, but I don't have all their contact information.
Okay.
So I'm not contacting them the way they are supposed to be contacted.
Awesome.
I
So
think-
you know what you
Yeah.
need to work on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing you have to do is make sure you get the people in there, right? So if you're telling me that except for Annie, everybody else seems to not have enough people in your database, then you've got some feeding to do, right? Because you got a hungry database. All right. So to succeed at a high level in real estate sales, you must commit to frequent contact with a database with the intent of building close relationships. I don't know how many of you guys did the first step to bold with Scott Toombs either a week ago Monday or yesterday, but he said something that I loved. And he asked this question. He said, name a soda pop company, right? And everybody has one that comes to mind, right? Your job is to be that when somebody says, name a real estate agent, they think of you first, right? If you think about it, that's simply all you have to be, is that person that when they say, do you know a real estate agent? They know who they would refer, who they would say, yes, I do. That's who you need to be. That's that close relationship that we need to have. So that's going to take us to law number 3. Law number 3 is all about communicate with your database systematically. So the way you communicate with your database is going to depend on, first of all, whether it's a lead or a contact, right? We talked about that early on, right? We're going to talk to our leads, the people we're trying to get in a relationship with, differently than we're going to talk to our contacts, the people that we're already in relationship with. So whatever you're using for our database, we have to have a way to figure out who those are, right? Who are our leads and who are our contacts? Who do we need to get into relationship with, and who do we already have a relationship with? And then for our contacts, the people that we're already in relationship with, we need to figure out, do you think it's possible that we're going to talk to them differently? Are there different subgroups within our people that we're in relationship with that we might have different conversations with? One example we talked about earlier, knowing whether they rent or they own. Would we talk to our contacts, the people we're in relationship with that rent? Would we have different messages for them than we would have people that own their home?
Yes.
Yeah, we should, right? What other kind of differences, groups might we have?
Your friends, people, your vendors, I guess.
Yeah, you're gonna talk to your friends. You're gonna talk to your friends differently as well. These are categories, right, in our database. If you're using command, Keller Williams command for your database, how are you gonna do that? If those of you that use command, how are you gonna segment your database?
We've got the tags we can
Your
use.
tags.
Yeah, you're going to tag them, right? And if you use it different, like Boomtown, they have a tagging system as well. So you got to figure out, how are I going to put these into different segments? Now, what's the first thing we need to figure out? Would it be helpful to know what segments we need? How we're going to separate our people, right? All right, so we're going to do a fun little exercise. Let's stop sharing for a minute. We're going to do a fun little exercise. And what I'm going to do is I am going to, let's see how many there are. 23 of you. So we're going to do groups of 3 or 4. And we're going to get out there and we're going to spend the next 10 minutes. I want you to get together with the people in your group and I want you to come up with a list of different kinds of segments that you might have in your database. And then we're going to come back and we are going to share that and see if we can give each other some ideas of different segments that we want to have in our database. So hang on, I'm going to get us in the breakout rooms here. Add a room. Recreate. Okay, this should work. Here we go. All right, so 10 minutes. Everybody clear what we're going to do? Yeah, we're going to be making lists of how we are going to segment our database. So it is 5 till 4. We're going to do this till 5 after 4. Here we go. All right, what you guys come up with? Who wants to share?
Michelle and I, we came up with neighborhood, contacts, friends, work, and teammates,
Okay, I
and a
love
few
that.
others. Business
Anybody else got-
contact.
Anybody else got others?
Yes. This is
Valerie,
Val.
what'd you
Hi,
come up with?
Carla.
Hello.
We have buyer, seller,
Love it.
rent, own, first-time buyer, sphere, KW agent, agent, lead, general information, lender, title company. Then we went to just services and then we decided we could do sub tags under services.
I love that. So like your vendors.
Yes.
So if you were looking for a painter or a plumber, that's awesome. Great job. All right. Well, who else? Who else got some others? Anybody come up with veterans? Why would it be a good idea to tag the veterans in your database or have them identified?
They move every couple of years.
If they're active, they may be really active clients. They're going to blow that 5 to 7 or 7 to 10 years out. Yeah. Someone else. How about holidays, right? Labor Day, Memorial Day. If you tell them thank you for their service, isn't that going to strengthen your relationship that you remembered that they provided service, right? So that's one. How about, did anybody say past clients? What's something really good to know about our past clients? If we know that people move every 7 to 10 years, what would be a really good thing to know about our past clients?
Their home anniversary.
Yeah, we want to know when they bought, right? What year did they buy? How about VIPs? Do we have VIPs in our world? What would make somebody a VIP?
Repeat, like a genuine repeat customer to you. Like they
Either
keep
a
coming
repeat
back.
customer or a repeat referrer. Repeat refer, is that a referrer? Is that a noun, a referrer? Yeah, so we got that. Now, and also there's something, specific hobbies or interests. So one of the examples, let me go back to the PowerPoint here. One of the examples that we've got here is, for instance, golf. right? So if we know that there's somebody that really likes golf or they want to live on a golf course, right? And then we could set up a Google alert. Does anybody here know what a Google alert is? Well, if you Google alert, it'll tell you how to do it. But basically what you can do is you could set up, and let's say you wanted to, anytime there was an article about the Masters or Augusta, you could type that in, and anytime there was an article about that, it would come up and you would get an email from Google saying, here's an article about Augusta. Or, you could do golf real estate, right? Anytime there's an article about golf real estate, and it would say, here's an article about golf real estate, then you could send it to the people in your database, right? That were interested in that. So you're always providing value. You're providing personal information to them that is about something that they find interesting. Are people going to be more receptive to your communications if it's something that they find valuable?
Yes.
You think about all the emails that you get that you delete without even reading. If it was something that was valuable to you, would you read it? Probably. Yeah, probably. I had this brilliant idea with my database that here's the other thing to know, that these segments or tags or groupings that you have in your database, they don't have to be set in stone, right? They don't have to be set in stone. So I originally decided that I was going to, one time when I called my database one quarter, I was going to find out who their favorite NFL team was. And I was going to tag my database based on their favorite NFL team. And then I realized that this was ridiculous and it was a lot of work and this was not going to be beneficial. And I stopped doing it. Now, back, if you guys remember at the very beginning of the football season, there was a funny video that went around of Peyton and Eli watching a Denver Broncos game. And it was a hilarious little video clip. And so I copied that clip and I remembered that I had started this tagging in my database, and I went and found all the Broncos and Colts fans who would appreciate this. And I sent that out, and it created conversations, right? Aren't conversations the gold star that we get for relationship building, right? So there's different reasons why you might do that. How about investors? Nobody mentioned investors. Do you think it would be good to have a tag in our database for the people that we know that are interested in investing in real estate? That would be another one. All right, did you guys come up with any others? We just have to make sure that we have a system and a plan around it. There's one on this screen right here that I think is a great one. Dog lovers, cat lovers. Don't get your dog lovers and your cat lovers messed up though, because if you send your dog lovers cat videos, they are not going to find value in that, right? But you can figure out if you find funny videos that are about dogs or whatever, and you had dog lovers tagged in your database, then that would be one way that you could communicate. All right, so we're going to have some customized messaging then. And we talked about the golf courses already, but if a gorgeous property comes on the market, you see it in the MLS and it's on this golf course, how do you know who to send that to? Just because you don't have anybody right now that you know for sure is looking for a golf course property, if it's a gorgeous property and it's on a golf course and you've got golf lovers in your database, is there a chance that if you sent that out, they might all of a sudden be interested even though you didn't know they were? So that's that. Also, investors. Are investors going to be interested in different things than maybe people who aren't investors? They're going to be keyed into different things. There was a gal at Family Reunion, Keller Williams Family Reunion last February, our annual conference. I sat in a class and she had a property of the week, and she sent this out to her investors every week. She picked a property that they might be interested in, and she sent that out every week. And she even said that sometimes if she was late getting it out, she'd have people message back and go, oh, did I miss it this week? Did I miss out on it? They were so excited. If you can create FOMO, that's awesome. They're thinking about her because they're worried they didn't get an email from her. She was adding so much value. And also with dog lovers, it doesn't all have to be real estate related. Here they've given an example of listing of upcoming low-cost vaccination sites or pet insurance or different things like that. So anything you're adding value is what we're looking for here when we're communicating. Now, you guys have all heard of 36 Touch, right? Does anybody not know what a 36 Touch program is? This comes straight out of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. On the left-hand side, we've got what we're doing for leads, 19 to connect. So this is the 19 touches to get into relationship. Once we get into relationship, we're going to have one high value touch, something of value that is going to cement that relationship. And then we're going to move them over into the contacts, the people where we're already in relationship, but we're working to strengthen the relationship. And what everyone is saying right now from anyone that you talk to is that 36 is the minimum. And we probably ought to be more than 36, more like 72 or more. Think about how often you get emails from some of the people that you do business with. If the people in our database are used to hearing from everyone repeatedly and they're only hearing from us 36 times, maybe that's not enough to stay memorable. We have to communicate with our database enough that we stay top of mind. And this is on page 14, but what is on all of this is something of value. So when we think of something of value that we can send, it doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot of money, right? You could send something that's valuable to someone that didn't cost anything. What are some ideas that you have on items of value? Oscar, you got an idea?
Something that's related to what they do, their career.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that's related to what their career is. How about market statistics? Do you think they might find market statistics interesting? Has anybody ever pulled, before you had your real estate license, get in the time capsule and go back before you know what you know, and you don't have your real estate license yet, and you pull into your neighborhood and you see a real estate sign in your neighbor's yard? What's the first thing you think?
Wonder how much it's selling for.
Yeah, we want to know how much it's selling for. Now, we probably don't know. We don't care enough to go in and look it up online and find out, right? But if just automatically our friendly realtor that we're in relationship with sent that to us in our email, would that be valuable to us? That you knew I was questioning that and you sent me that information. If you're using Keller Williams Command, you have that ability in the neighborhood nurture, which is a smart plan that you can use. But think about that. How could you send valuable information to people in your database that's specific to them? They would be most interested in what's going on in their neighborhood. Another one is a seasonal checklist for homeowners, like maintenance items. You know, what do we do this time of the year? Well, we've just switched from air conditioning to heating, so we need to change our furnace filter. We need to check the batteries in our
Smoke detectors.
that thing, yeah, smoke detector. Thank you, Oscar. So we have that as well. What's one thing that a lot of people are worried about right now?
Interest rates.
Interest rate. So if we send out some updates on interest rates, might that not be valuable? How about it's fall, and at fall we have wonderful fall festivals. What if we came up with a list of fall festivals and we sent that out to our database? Would there be people that might find that valuable?
There's the football schedules too.
Football
Everybody
schedule
does
is
that.
great. Annie, that's perfect. So when I was in production, I was working with buyers and sellers. I mostly worked with seniors, and I did a cold schedule. And on the back of it, it had Purdue, IU, and Notre Dame. And it was a that would hang on the refrigerator. And when I decided I was going to move into coaching and out of production, I stopped sending that. In the first year, I had people call me and ask me, did I get taken off the list? I didn't get my calendar. They thought it was so valuable. They called and asked for it, right? They were interested in that. They wanted to find it. How about somebody, you mentioned tagging based on painters and plumbers or whatever. How about a vendor list? Do you think that people in your database might struggle to find vendors when they need help? If you have a vendor list, what if you shared that with your database? Would that be valuable? How about the property tax exemptions, like deadlines for filing for exemptions? That would be another one. Another one that everyone pretty much does is the fallback and spring forward. And I like to do this. I like to do it on the Friday before it happens on Sunday, so I'm first, right? And I say, hey, you know, we're springing forward. What are you going to do with, what are you going to do with your extra hours that fall back? Whenever you get an extra hour, what are you going to do with the extra hour? Are you getting an extra hour of sleep, or, whatever that looks like. So we have those are the value touches. So what we have to do is we have to make sure that we are communicating continually matters of importance. Think about that. Instead of value, think of it like matters of importance, things that people would find to be interested. What naturally is going to happen if you build relationships and you show people value? What's going to happen?
They're going to look to you as an expert.
Yeah, they're going to do business with you, and that's what we want, right? Now, what happens if you build a database and you feed it, you do all the things we talked about in Law 1 and Law 2, but you neglect the communicating part? What's going to happen?
You're not going to be top of mind.
Yeah, somebody else is going to get the business because they're probably in somebody else's database, or they're going to drive by and see a sign in the yard and they're going to call the sign, right? They're going to show up at an open house and they're going to work with the agent that's there. So you have to make sure that you have stayed top of mind. You've basically, if you build a database and you feed it and you don't communicate with it consistently and systematically, you have wasted your time lead generating. And you're going to have a business that's based on luck, chance, hope, but not on anything significant. You're not going to have a data bank. You're going to be constantly looking for your next closing or your next check. And we don't want that to happen, right? Because we want it to be a data bank. We want to be able to constantly know that we're going to be able to draw business and income from it. So I know that this is going to be one of those controversial things that we can talk about, but what do you think is the most important communication in having a relationship with someone? Form of communication, the most important one.
Phone calls.
It's either going to be phone calls or face-to-face,
Text.
right? Phone calls or face-to-face are the most, would you agree with me that those two are the most personal ways that you can communicate with someone? Face-to-face would be the most personal, right? And phone calls would be second. Is it reasonable that we're looking at $1 million database to be in relationship with it, 1,500 people. Is it reasonable that we could get face-to-face with 1,500 people on a regular basis? No. But is it reasonable that we could call 1,500 people on a regular basis? Yeah. So we have to keep that in mind. And I know we all like to text and we all like to receive texts. And sometimes people call. My voicemail is even going to tell you, don't leave me a voicemail, text me, because I might not be able to get back to you as quick if you don't. So we are in a texting world. And that's why in bold, they now allow us to text. But if you were able to do the first step to bold, you saw, and for those of you that don't know, bold is a class that we have at Keller Williams that comes around once a year. And we just had the first step and we did 2 different exercises. We did a texting exercise and a phone exercise. And what we found was that the phone exercise had a much higher dollar return on it for our time than texting. And the reason for that is that it's not as personal, right? It's not as personal of communication. It's still a good communication, but not as personal. And I would even argue that handwritten notes comes before texting. I would think it's face-to-face phone calls, then handwritten notes, and then texting is somewhere down the line as far as the effectiveness of strengthening or building a relationship. So we have to be aware of that. All right. So let's find out how well you guys are communicating with your database. Let's do a little math here. What we're going to do here is we're going to look at the number of people you have in your database. And for this exercise, if you don't know, just guess, get pretty close to it. All right, and then you are going to multiply the number of people you have in your database by 10%, and that's going to tell me how many closings, you should have gotten from the contacts in your database. Then you're going to multiply that same number, the number of people in your database, by 6.4, and that's going to tell you how many referrals you should have gotten. And you're going to add those two together. And that's the number of closings that you should have had this year from your database. And then you're going to subtract from it your 2022 transactions that you have closed that you know was directly related to your database, which should be most of them. And then you're going to multiply them by your average GCI, the difference between the two. Did anybody here have the number of closings that they should have had based on the number of people in their database? So if you didn't get the number of closings that you should have gotten based on the number of people you have in your database, what does that tell us we need to work on?
Communication with them.
Yes, the systematic communication with them. Absolutely. That lost revenue, those are people that probably closed. Who did they close with? Who got the revenue? Somebody else, right? We call that a lost 1099 and we don't want to have those. So, yes, Annie.
I just have a question. So how does everybody keep track of their contacts with people? I mean, I've been putting notes in, but that's kind of labor intensive. So, I mean, does everybody else do that? How do you keep track of when you actually contact?
Well, I just emailed my contacts yesterday and command tells me my last contact was yesterday and at what time it was that I emailed.
Yeah. So what about phone calls or text messages?
Oh, okay. Not there yet. I was going to do that tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Well, if you
Does it
text
not-
from command, it'll do the same thing, right? So if
Okay.
you're texting and you text from command and you text from your Twilio number, it's going to record in your timeline as well.
Okay.
And then the other way, when you talk to them on the phone, you're going to want to make notes because
Yeah.
Annie, what if they told you that in December they're going to Disney? When you call them next time in January, are you going to remember that?
Yeah, no. And that's what I've been doing. So I've been putting in notes, whatever they tell me.
Yeah,
So I just
you
didn't know
have
if
to do
anyone else
that.
did that.
You know, if we have 20 conversations a day and 5 of those are by phone and 15 of them are by text, really those 5 are the only ones where we probably got any substantial information we would need to make notes on. Because again, if we're texting, we aren't getting that kind of detail, right? Because
Right.
that volley is not the same back and forth as a conversation, like a phone conversation where there's, a back and forth that's immediate response, that personal conversation. So, yeah, unfortunately, you're going to have to keep track. Now, here's what you got to figure out for yourself. If you're making your calls, are you writing notes or are you stopping every time and typing in your notes? And you got to figure out the system that works best for you so that you're most efficient during your lead generation and lead follow-up time. All right, so phone calls, I've done that. We got to talk about these items of value in this communication, right? And if you're using command with Keller Williams, you've got the neighborhood nurture, which is a smart drip plan of market data that's neighborhood specific. So it's going to, once you put somebody's address in there, it's going to it's going to find its neighborhood. The database is going to find its neighborhood, and then it's going to have an email that it'll send out on a monthly or bi-weekly basis. So if you do monthly, that's going to be 12 touches, right? Super simple and a value that's going to go in their database. We also have in the design section, there is a magazine that goes out quarterly. There's also some, if you don't have Keller Williams Command or you use a different one, there's also some services out there that will send out a magazine or a newsletter, or you could do your own newsletter, but that is another way to get in touch with people, some communication. Annie mentioned earlier, I think, birthdays. Right? You want to reach people on their birthdays every way possible. Text them happy birthday, email them happy birthday, put the happy birthday on their social media, but absolutely mail them a birthday card. How many of you guys had a birthday in the last year? Everybody have a birthday. If you're on Facebook, did a lot of people wish you happy birthday on social media?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember who did and who didn't? Did anybody get some handwritten birthday cards in the mail on their last birthday? Do you remember who sent those? Yeah, think about that. When you get something in the mail, how does it make you feel?
Special and remembered.
special, right? It's a personal touch, right? And if you make me feel special, then I'm going to remember you. That's what our goal is, right? That's what our goal is. Happy anniversary holidays. We are coming into the wonderful season of holidays, right? We have Halloween, we have Thanksgiving, we have all the December wonderful holidays, and then we have New Year's, which is followed up not really very far out by Valentine's Day, right? So there's like 5 or 6 opportunities for some really great communication all around things that people wouldn't mind hearing about. And then home anniversary, that's another one. But there are other holidays as well. I'll tell you a funny story. It's not so funny, but it is. So when I taught this class in person in the West office, I was at the very end, we had an hour where we actually went through our Keller Williams command, and we talked about how to use it in different ways. And it was right before Labor Day. And so I love sending a text out on right before Labor Day that says, what's on the grill? Happy Labor Day. What's on the grill this weekend? If you send out a short text like that with a question mark in it, what's likely to happen?
People will respond.
If you ask a question, they're going to answer, right? That's just the human instinct, right? If you ask a question, people respond. Well, I have a lot of people in my database that really aren't people that I would have that with because of what I do for coaching. But I accidentally sent out 2,600 text messages. And on the Friday before Labor Day, I got 400 responses, people telling me what was on the grill, what they were planning on cooking for the weekend, which was fabulous because I had lots of great conversations, right? It's just unplanned and unscheduled for me to respond. You had the same thing happen, didn't you, Annie? It took you weeks to get through all of your responses because you can really open yourself up. So think about that, because the goal is conversations, right? And it's easy to get conversations around holidays. Other touches we've got on here, some seasonal home maintenance checklists. Again, you gotta be careful. That's why you need to have your homeowners and your renters separate, because some of those may not apply. The spring forward, fall back, just listed, you want to send those out, just solds. And then client appreciation events, and pay close attention. Your market centers, if you're at Keller Williams or if you're at another brokerage, hopefully your brokerage does some really awesome things. We're coming up on Halloween, and I know at Indy Metro South, there's going to be trunk or treat. You can invite your clients to come trick or treat and get their face painted and do all kinds of fun things. That's a client appreciation event. You can invite your database to come to that. And that's how many touches do you think you could get out of a client appreciation event? How many communications with your database?
Probably 3.
Yeah.
At least, yeah, you're gonna give them a save the date right now, and then you're gonna remind them the day before, the day of, and then you're gonna see them at the event, hopefully. And then if you didn't see them at the event, you're gonna message them and tell them how much you missed them. And if you did see them, you're gonna thank them for coming, right? So you're gonna get 3 to 4 right out of the bat. So yeah, you get lots of good touches out of a client appreciation event, and those don't have to be expensive either. So in your workbook, oh, and somebody messaged me while we were on break and said that they did not have that workbook. So I just put that in the chat as well. I sent it out to the email addresses to everybody that registered. So if you don't know where it is, it may be in your junk folder, but if not, it's in the chat right now. But if you go to that and you look at on page, trying to get there, page 18 in your workbook, you're going to see where you can start planning your 36 touch program. This is a great time of the year to start planning for next year. What happens if we don't have a plan?
It doesn't happen.
Don't go anywhere.
No, we don't. Nothing happens, right? We got to have a plan. So there's a little diagram there for you to come up with your 36 touches. But your job is to build that community, right? You're building those relationships and building a community. And then the rest of it becomes law number 4. So once we have done our job and we have built our database and we have fed our database, and we have been really good about communicating with it systematically on a regular basis, we know now what we're going to see. 10% of the people in our database are going to need our help next year. And we can count on 6 out of 100 to give us a referral, right? So we're going to get some referrals from that. Now, what we have to do after that, your job is to connect with people, right? Put them in the database, and then you want to be their realtor for life. And the way you're going to be their realtor for life is you're going to service them. Now, do you think, I'm going to say the script that I always use is someone who needs my help. I am not a big one for saying somebody who wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Because if they need a plumber, I want them to call me. Why do I want them to call me if they need a plumber? I'm not a plumber, by the way. But why do I want them to call me if they need a plumber? Well, they're thinking of me, right? They're thinking of me when they think of real estate. And that's what I want to have happen. So we have to make sure that, remember, words matter. The things that we say matter. We need to work on our conversations and our scripts, and you need to find one that works for you. But what works for me is finding people who need help with real estate. Anything real estate, I'm available to help them with. So my job is that, and that is where this service comes in. So think of your database as the community that you serve, and the size of your community is determined by you. It's determined by the size of your database. Remember, real estate is a relational business. There used to be a t-shirt that I've seen that they sell that says real estate is a contact sport, not like a boxing contact sport, but it is a contact sport. Now, the way you're going to service all the leads, if you're using Keller Williams Command, you have a function that's called opportunities. And this is where you're going to find all the people that have said yes, or maybe they need your help. And this is where you're going to know where you need to service them. And if you're using some other database or spreadsheet or whiteboard or whatever that looks like, you just have to make sure that you're providing that service. Now for this class, we don't spend a whole lot of time on the servicing part, because that's our job. That's what we all do, right? That's the showing properties, that's answering questions, it's doing those things. But why do you think it's important? Sometimes do we get leads that maybe aren't ready, willing, and able? They don't look like maybe they ever might be ready, willing, or able. Why is it important that we go ahead and service those leads too?
Referrals.
Referrals.
For referrals, we don't know who they know. Absolutely, right? And we also need to make sure we know the source. So when we have business come in, we want to make sure we know the source of where it came from. And we talked earlier about rewarding the referral and when we need to do that. So you're going to follow up with them. You're going to service them whatever they need. You're going to manage the referrals, and you're going to ask for referrals, right? So we need to make sure we're doing all of those things. So those are basically the 4 laws of the database. And if you follow all 4 laws of the database and you had 1,450 contacts in your database and your gross commission income per transaction is $7,000, you can plan on getting to the point where you can earn $1 million a year. And I think that's just so exciting. That's the Databank that we're talking about. So we talked about building the database, feeding it, communicating it, and servicing it. So you have all the tools and systems that you need to create your business database. Yeah. Does everybody have all the systems and tools they need to build their database?
Yeah.
Do you understand the value of your database? You understand how important it is to your business?
Yes.
Yeah. So now you just have to commit to maximizing how you use it. And Becky said earlier, the best database is the one that you're actually going to use. You have to continue to build and feed your database, and you just need to work on that communication. And then obviously the servicing piece, we have to do that. So let's talk for a minute about the seasons of the Databank. I love this because we're sitting right at the beginning, and it's a perfect time of the year to have this conversation. So that there are 3 seasons of your Databank. The first one is your fall cleanup, and that's from now to the end of October. From now to the end of October, which is a few weeks away, we need to figure out what information you want to have on each person in your database. We talked about this earlier. You have to have a phone, an email, and an address. Nice to haves, birthday, home anniversary. Ford, does everybody know what Ford stands for?
Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams.
Yep. Family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. That's a good way to think about what I want to know in my database. I want to know those things. But you need to figure out where the holes are, where you have missing information.
Mhm.
So you need to figure that out so that you can systematically start gathering that information. And then you also need to create a list of everyone that should be in your database but isn't. And that's that memory jogger sheet that I gave you early on in this class. Now, after the fall cleanup, we have the winter of renewal, and the winter of renewal is November 1st to February 28th. And this is where that gift of all these holidays come in play as well. So this is the renewal of all of your relationships that you may not have been as purposeful about maintaining over the course of the year. And how do we know that you weren't as purposeful of maintaining those relationships over the course of the year? Well, we all did the math, right? We figured out how much business we should have got from our database, and we know we didn't get as much business out of it as we should have. So we know that we have some renewal to do, right? The end of the year has lots of natural touch points. We just talked about this. It's the holidays. So we want to make sure that we spend this time between now and the end of the month, the end of October, figuring out what it is that we need. And then from November to February, we really need to strengthen our database. This is a really, really great time to do it. Then if we do those two things and we follow through those two seasons, March 1st through to July 31st, this is going to be your spring summer explosion. After you've reconnected, this is the buying and selling season time. So you've maintained the relationships. Now you're going to get to collect all, this is when you get to make withdrawals from your data bank, right? You've planted all the seeds. Now they're going to start growing and you're going to get all the business that you need. And these seasons, these 3 seasons of the data bank are on page 20 in your guide. So the last thing I want to say is that you have to trust your database or your data bank. You have to trust it. If you follow the 4 laws, you have to be sure that you don't quit too soon. We all have this immediate gratification need. We want the business right now. I'm confident that all of you guys want business right now, or you wouldn't have been on here today for a class, right? But we have to know that the 36 plus touch, whatever we come up with, it takes time to yield results. We have a bold law. It's slowly then suddenly. It's the way our business works because not everybody is ready to buy right now. We just have to make sure we're there for them when they're ready. So we have to think long term. If we always come from care and service and add value, and remember that real estate is a relationship business, if we're patient and we trust our database, then the business will come to us. So, okay. So, any ahas, takeaways? Action item. If you've just spent an hour and 40 minutes in a class, you have to leave with something that's an action item, something that you're going to work on so that you can get to whatever your goal is, whether it's $1 million database or whatever that looks like. Who's got an aha or an action item?
I'm going to feed my database because it's starving.
It's starving. No diets. Diets mean die. Ooh.
I am going to work on getting all the information as I go through my letters this 12 weeks.
Okay.
I said I was going to do that last time, but I didn't. So I'm doing that.
I love that. That's what she's talking about, doing her letters. We do something in the 12 weeks to success called do the database too. So this week, for instance, Annie is reaching out to everyone who have the last names A and W. It's a systematic way of making sure we make our conversations, our 4 calls a year that we're making those, having those conversations. All right. Any other action items, something that you're going to do moving forward?
Reaching out at people, calling people.
Making phone calls.
So
Very
yeah,
good.
exactly. Making time to do that.
I love that. And making time. What do we have to do? Whatever it is we decide today is our action item. What do we have to do to make sure it gets done?
Time block.
we got to put it on our calendar, right? If it's not on our calendar, it doesn't exist. So we got to make sure we put that on our calendar. All right. Was there somebody else that had an aha or a takeaway?
Actually, I
Be
do,
patient.
my database is
patient.
kind of spread out in multiple locations that need to be consolidated. So that's my goal.
Getting them all together in one place. I love that. Well, very good. Well, I very much appreciate you guys spending the time with me today to talk about database. I do have a favor to ask. So one of the reasons I mentioned earlier, I originally wrote this class for another class called Advanced Train the Trainer. And at Keller Williams, I have to go through a few steps in order to get certified as a trainer of some certain materials that I'd like to teach. And in order to do that, I have to collect some evaluations. So if you guys would be kind enough to help me out with that, it's super simple. It'll take you just a couple seconds. And if you got your phone, you can do it real easily because there is a QR code here on the screen. And if you do that QR code, it's going to take you to a Survey Monkey where they are capturing that. And the first thing, when it asks for your region, you're going to put in Ohio Valley. And even if you're not at Keller Williams, you can fill this out for me as well. But if you would just put in our region is Ohio Valley. And then if you put in for my market center joined virtually, that's going to be the next one. And then when you get to the next screen, it's going to ask you the name of the course. And this course is one that I wrote. So it's not one of the Keller Williams courses. So you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom where it says course not in drop down. And then you're going to type in 4 laws of database. And then the same thing with the instructor, because I'm not an approved instructor, I'm not on the list. So you're going to scroll all the way to the bottom to instructor not in drop down. And you're going to type in my name, Carla Higgins. And then I think the rest of it's self-explanatory. You've got a scale of 1 to 5, how this class was for you. And I appreciate you helping me out with that.
How do we access the video?
The video. So when we get all finished today, Zoom will process it and then I will upload it to YouTube and I will email it out to you.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Along with the other materials that I put links to in the chat, I will attach those to my email as well.
Roger that. Thank you.
And it usually takes Zoom about a couple of hours to process the video before I get it back so that I can upload it to YouTube. So it'd be sometime later this evening.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry. What was the name of the class you said?
4 laws of database.
Okay, I didn't see that on there. I'll look again.
It's not. You got to scroll all the way to the bottom. So you're going to go
Okay.
course not and drop down
okay.
and then type it in.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
No, you were fine. Any other questions? Anything I can help anybody with? All right, my last pitch. If you're at Keller Williams or not at Keller Williams, one or the other, and you're not signed up for Bold, think about it. You should be, because the next 6 weeks are going to be amazing as far as your mindset, your activities around your business. This is my favorite class of all of them that we have. And we got the exceptional Scott Toombs as our coach for this session. So I love it. And if you missed the first step to Bold, they are going to do a virtual one next Friday. So you can actually hop into that. So you can check with your team leader and she can get you he or she can get you the access to that.
Carla, so this is Chastity, and I am currently an unassigned agent.
Okay.
Just recently passed my test, so I am just in the process of trying to find a brokerage that works for me.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you, thank you. And I spoke with, I think it was Libby earlier today.
Awesome.
And so here I am today and just hearing wonderful things so far about Keller Williams. So just really want to thank you for your time and the information that you shared today. It's really helping me make my decision. So thank you.
Well, I love that. And what a brilliant thing that you have done, jumping into a class while you're just getting started, because if you build a database, that is going to be the heartbeat of your business. And I love that that's where you're starting. So that's awesome. If you have any other questions, anything else I can help you with, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this for everyone. I'm going to put, this is my cell phone. I'm going to put this in my chat, in the chat. And if there is ever anything I can do to help you, the easiest way to, after I said the whole thing about phone calls, you just got to know the best way to, the best way to reach me is to text me, only because I am coaching all day long and I don't have the opportunity to answer my phone like I wish I could. So, but if you text me, I'll get right back with you. But Chastity, I am so excited you were here. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm going to let you go. And like I said, I'll get the video out to everyone along with the materials that I shared on the chat. And if you find you have any questions, so you think, oh, I wish I would have something, just text me and I will help you with that.
Carla, are you Indianapolis based?
I am in Indianapolis. I coach with Indy Metro South, West, Northeast, and then I also coach a little bit with the Louisville East office.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So which office are you out of, or are you not part of Keller Williams?
I'm part of Keller Williams. My home office is Indy Metro South, but I work from
South.
home. So yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank
Yeah. Awesome, guys. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for spending a couple hours with me.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everyone.
Thank you.